Character designs in video games are extremely important, especially when, in a lot of cases, you spend the vast majority of your time staring at them. Well, staring at the backs of them anyway. Occasionally, developers will change an established character design for a multitude of reasons, sometimes because they have more powerful hardware than before to create the image they want, others because they want to target a different audience or completely change the direction of a series. Regardless of the reason, these changes can either be really good or really bad. With that said, today we're going to be taking a look at 7 examples of character redesigns that in this case absolutely rocked and really improved the character. The first character is Geralt from The Witcher. For many, The Witcher 3 was their first time playing a game in the series when the title really took off after getting a lot of attention, and deservingly so, as it was pretty fantastic in both the visual and gameplay department. However, the silver-haired badass looking monster hunter wasn't quite so cool looking once upon a time. Looking back at his design in the first game is quite frankly terrifying, from the severely anemic skin tone to his weird constant lip pout that could put any monster into submission from sight alone. Thankfully, his design was altered for The Witcher 2 to something a lot more tolerable, but it still doesn't match up even close to his awesome redesign in the last and final game. Next is Kratos from the extremely recent new God of War title, where he received a pretty drastic redesign to not only his appearance, but also his personality and weaponry. Unlike Geralt, there was nothing wrong with Kratos' old design at all. It was extremely iconic in the world of video games and instantly recognisable, which could have meant completely changing up the character was a total train wreck. However, it was the absolute opposite. The game showed us an older, bearded Kratos that is no longer in a constant state of roid rage, appearing calmer and more empathetic than we've ever seen him before, even placing him in a father role. God of War is a fantastic example of how great character redesigns can and should be, adding depth and development to Kratos than previously thought possible. Moving on to another character that had a drastic redesign, we have Jak from Jak and Daxter. The original game came out in 2001 and was Naughty Dog's next project after finally stepping away from the Crash Bandicoot series. Despite being more open and graphically impressive, it followed along the same lines as the Crash games, as it was still essentially a cartoony-esque platformer complete with mute protagonist. For the second game in the series, Naughty Dog took a really daring move, altering the style of the gameplay to something far more reminiscent of Grand Theft Auto, and with that also came a substantial change to the main character, Jak. No longer was Daxter the sole personality behind the game, with Jak sporting a less innocent, rugged look, and for the first time an actual voice that represented his new image. He even got an edgy alter ego, aptly named Dark Jak. This was a redesign that split people down the middle somewhat, with some favouring the old image and some the new one. However, in my opinion, it was fantastic and a major improvement. For the fourth character we have another Jak, although he's most commonly known by the name of Royden. Royden first appeared in Metal Gear Solid 2 as a main protagonist, a move that was met with a fair amount of controversy, not only because players just wanted to play as Snake, but because he wasn't all that interesting. He did, however, make his return in 2008's Metal Gear Solid 4, this time with a totally different badass cyborg redesign. This version of the character proved to be much more successful with fans, with his newfound popularity even leading onto a spin-off game called Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance that, instead of placing emphasis on stealth, played heavily on speed and action, making the most of his cyborg abilities. Royden's redesign took what was essentially a rather bland looking character and changed it into a really unique one that totally flipped how he was perceived. The Legend of Zelda is one series that constantly redesigns its main character Link with each new title, but there was one that really changed up, and that was none other than the Wind Waker. Before Wind Waker, Link sported a fairly realistic design in the 2 previous games, Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, so when the game was shown to be going for a more cartoony look for its world and characters, it was met with some, let's say, less than pleased responses. When the game launched, everybody's concerns were cast aside, however, when they realised just how incredible the world looked in this new aesthetic, and that Link's new design was actually really refreshing, not to mention the most expressive Link that had appeared in any Zelda game to date. Altering Link's design so much was a big risk, especially when initial feedback was shockingly poor, but Nintendo stuck to their guns and it paid off. Moving on to another cartoony character, we have Sora from the Kingdom Hearts series. Sora's redesign from the first to the second game is easily the most subtle on this list, but is a good representation of just how small changes can improve a character. In the first entry, Sora has an outfit that somewhat resembles that of a clown, with really bright red trousers and humongous yellow shoes. In Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora is aged up a few years and given a slightly more mature look. Along with that, he also gets better clothing with a much darker colour scheme, and although it has enough belt buckles and straps to hold up the trousers of half the men in the UK, it kinda works, and is still my favourite design for Sora to date. Last but certainly not least is Lara Croft from 2013's Tomb Raider reboot. The original Tomb Raider games were very popular action-adventure games in the 90s, drawing inspiration from movies like Indiana Jones, and featured a heroine that probably played a role in most preteen boys' fantasies. Lara would go on to get several tweaks to her image over the years, but none changed out quite like the 2013 origin story reboot. This new version of Lara felt more human, vulnerable and relatable, not to mention had more realistic body proportions that didn't make her feel quite like the one-tone sex symbol she was originally portrayed as, while keeping her recognisable. Much like Kratos, this is a great example of how to redesign an iconic character. Let me know which your favourite character redesigns are down in the comments. Maybe it's one of the ones in this video, or maybe it's one I haven't even thought of. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and hit that bell icon to receive notifications for when future videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.